What happened and what next? And will past be prologue? Does 2018 offer clues about 2019? Let's ask Michael Harrison, publisher of Talkers Magazine, the trade publication of talk media, radio, TV, podcasting. And each year-end, Michael's magazine publishes its Talkers 10, the list of the 10 most talked about topics of the year. Michael, welcome back. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you, Holland. Thank you for having me.
Let's dive right in, moving briskly in radio countdown style. Talkers Magazine, top topics of 2018, the 10th most talked about story of the year, North Korea nukes, and the Trump-Kim summit. Michael, you listen to talk radio as much as I do, and we're both accustomed to hearing no minds change. But on this one, I heard lots of Trump supporters wary of the president elevating Kim by this meeting, and lots of Trump detractors applauded the gesture. And for a story that was little more than a photo op, this played well on radio, didn't it?
Yeah, for a while people were saying, hey, Trump and Kim are going to be co-recipients of the Nobel Peace Prize. It started out like it was very, very tense with Rocket Man and Dottard, if you remember. The names were being thrown around, and everybody thought that Kim is a madman, and the North Koreans thought Trump was a madman, and we were sort of on the brink of this nuclear war, and then they somehow became friends. Now we're in a whole different era of the aftermath of that. It's not talked about much anymore, and that story is a tribute to how quickly stories come and go these days, and we saw a lot of that in 2018.
Yeah, don't blink, you'll miss it. Story number 9, the Dow Jones roller coaster in world markets. You and I tend to typecast a topic like this as more of a CNBC story than a Rush Limbaugh story. How did this cross over?
Oh, it crosses over because Donald Trump, who is the epicenter of all conversation, has made the successes that the stock market has enjoyed during his first 2 years his own. So every movement of the stock market has become politically charged and is used as a weapon for or against Trump, depending upon which side you happen to be. So it's been playing out on talk radio as a major topic. Every time the stock market hiccups, it's all about Donald Trump.
Of similar appeal, 2018's number 8 story, the USA-China trade war. And number 7 is no surprise, the Stormy Daniels case. Michael, true or false, this story is now closer to the end than the beginning?
Well, I think it is, but who knows? The Michael Cohen connection to that story ties into the Mueller investigation, and therefore it has a whole political aspect to it that takes it beyond just scandal. It now involves the law and legality.
We're talking with Talkers Magazine publisher and WRKO Boston and WTIC Hartford host Michael Harrison, who is counting down his magazine's annual Talkers 10, the 10 most talked about news stories of the year. Topic number 6 often seems like number 1. Michael, call me a skeptic, call me a media insider, but I think that this might be the most misunderstood story of the year. Trump and the media. Doesn't Trump, the master of distraction, secretly love the adversarial press that always seems to take the bait?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not his psychiatrist, so I can't really say for sure what's going on in his head. But I suspect, observing him closely, that he loves a fight. And he uses his battle with the media to solidify his base and his supporters, to galvanize them. And he just loves attention. He's thin-skinned on one level, but thick-skinned on another. Very hard to read him that way. He's still mysterious in that regard. And his battle with the media was custom-made for his personality. He's turned life into one big, gigantic political reality show.
And you have met the president in person since Mr. Trump became president. He knows you to be an influencer, but in person he's perfectly cordial, right?
Very cordial. I had a fun little moment with him. I shticked with him, if you understand what that means. I'm from Brooklyn, he's from Queens, and if you talk outer borough, with a man who's not from the Bronx, but he's from the outer boroughs of New York. There's a certain language and a vibe, and he's real good at it. Matter of fact, a lot of people misunderstand Trump because he talks Queens, but a kid from Brooklyn understood him very well, and we had a nice time.
Topic number 5 for the year, and we knew this would crack the top 5, the Kavanaugh Supreme Court confirmation hearings, for which lots of talk radio stations interrupted regular programming, and not just any story will bump Rush Limbaugh. Story of the year number 4, the midterm elections. No surprise when, as historically, the party on the outs made gains and Democrats took back the House. Beto O'Rourke gave Ted Cruz a scare, and he's already met with President Obama asking his advice about a 2020 presidential run. Story number 3 reappears after a rare year off in 2017, mass shootings. And the second most talked about story of the year propelled Donald Trump to the White House: immigration. Michael, it's a who's who of talk radio every year here in Washington at that annual Federation for American Immigration Reform event, FAIR, with most of talk radio leaning right. Do you find this conversation one-sided?
Well, it is, for the most part, one-sided. The immigration reform issue has been kept alive for the past 15 years plus on talk radio. There have been times when it was considered to be a cold subject, times when it gets hot, but it has always been a major subject on talk radio. And then, of course, when Trump made it his own, it was evident that there's a lot of people around the country concerned about it. But basically, the feeling is that this nation needs immigration reform. The controversy comes as to how it is to be implemented.
The conversation lately, too, with the government shutdown and all, seems to have been amped up. And ironically, the master negotiator, the art of the deal author, or ghost author, Mr. Trump, now seems to be negotiating with himself. Mitch McConnell recessed the Senate. Trump holed up in the White House until his flyby in Iraq. But it now sounds like, did I say wall? Let's make it a fence. Did I say $5 billion? He's got people on Fox News saying, well, maybe a little less than that. Do you sense that the tide is turning on this story?
I hope the tide is turning so that the Democrats, who are being true to their base, and Trump, who's trying to be true to his base, are each able to save face so that they could negotiate some type of a way forward. Trump's problem is the conservative media, particularly talk radio, has been really holding his feet to the fire about maintaining his promises. So this is a matter of nuanced diplomacy, and both sides face a problem if they can't get out of this without one being seemed weak and bludgeoned into a pulp.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about talk radio. By many yardsticks, a couple of years ago, you could have called Rush Limbaugh a mature act, but he turned the president on a dime over the wall. Topic number 1 on talk radio during 2018 is likely to buzz aplenty in 2019, the Trump-Russia investigation. So, Michael, I'm not surprised to see these two atop your separate talkers list of the year's most talked about people. Number 1, Donald Trump. Number 2, Robert Mueller. Is or is not Donald Trump the best thing that ever happened to talk radio and cable news?
From a standpoint of being something to talk about, a reality show, lots of drama, lots of controversy, lots of fascination. The public is addicted to Trump, whether they love him or not. So, yeah, from that standpoint, from a standpoint of material, of content, Donald Trump is the best thing that ever happened to talk media.
And all of our brothers in the talk radio family are loving the tune-in factor because stories can change hour to hour to hour throughout the day. Now, we've listed the most talked about topics of the year. To your trained ear, what issues are being under-discussed on talk radio and cable news? What's not getting enough airtime?
What's not getting enough airtime is the problem of cyber war, of the grid, of things that are going on in China right now in terms of their development of cyber digital era espionage. That is something that's not being talked about. Problems with clean water not being talked about. Problems imposed by the digital era and computers that are infringing upon privacy. Not enough talk about that, in my opinion. These are topics that are extremely important. And the psychological changes that people are going through, adjusting to the rewiring of our nervous systems in this new era, I think that is palpable, and we don't talk enough about that.
I'm Larry King. Questioning, listening, learning. You know, I've always said I never learned anything when I was talking. It's important to listen. Question more.